The wind chill advisory.
You can call the Psychic Solution, a better...
There's nothing in the world like Action Box.
Wood can be eaten by a raccoon.
I'm back. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 7th generation Accords, learning a little bit about the SCCA, and planning out my new track build. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get right into it. So it has been about 2.5 years since I've done anything with this channel. Lots happened since then. Most of my friends who I was doing it with have either moved to different states or gotten big boy jobs. In that 2.5 years since I've last done anything with this, I have moved to Alabama. I wanted to get back into it in Alabama, but I was busy with my big boy job of managing Red Lobster. I don't really know why I did that. I have since moved back home to good old Louisiana, and I'm trying to motivate myself to get back into doing this because it was a lot of fun. I think this time around I'm going to do it a little bit different. I don't want a normal upload schedule for now. I don't have any set ways I'm going to do stuff. This time I'm just going to do what I want to do, what I find fun. Some of you might know what's behind me. One of my little projects to get me back into cars and making videos and kind of get back to mingling with folks and people is I'm going to be building a track car, not a race car. This is not a race car. It will be a track car because I'm pretty interested in getting into SCCA autocross. Without further ado, I guess let's do the big giant reveal. So if you can go ahead and give me the drum roll, I'll get it all opened up for you. It's getting cold. I'm not hearing it from anybody who is like, oh, you can't handle 20s and 30s and 40s because you can't handle a hurricane. So as soon as you can get hit with Katrina and be okay, then we can talk. So I will progressively be putting on more clothes because I'm a little weenie baby. So I decided to buy this fancy new tarp or car cover from the Walmart. So maybe it'll be more waterproof, but as you can see, it doesn't even cover up the doors because there's no doors. And I'm sure if I had doors back on it, maybe it would stick to the curves more, but I should have bought a bigger size, so it doesn't really work that well, so whatever. Ta-da! I know, don't get too excited. All right. Behind me is a 2007 Honda Accord Coupe, specifically the one-of-one EX trim with the sport package. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is the absolute peak of automotive engineering, and nothing on this planet even compares to the raw power, handling, and style of this machine behind me. Contrary to popular belief, this is not a good car. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this car. I've driven this up until recently for probably the last 3 years of my life. I got it when I was about 19-ish, maybe just turned 20. I paid $900 to a Honda dealership that I was working at the time. It was a trade-in. So $900 plus tax, and at the time, it was one singular color, had about 190,000 miles on it. Everything more or less worked on it. The suspension was pretty bad, but what can you really expect for almost 200,000 miles on Louisiana roads? But in that time, I have fallen in love with this car. I'm very, very partial to it. I've always liked Hondas as far as their reliability go, but I was never real big into like front wheel drive platforms just in general, especially when it comes to like Hondas, like Civics. Civics aren't bad. It's not really my cup of tea. If you wrote me a check for $500,000 to do anything with, I would not be buying a Civic. That being said, man, this is a great car, really. Never been left on the side of the road. Dead reliable, got me to and from work and family events and everything else. That was until I made the huge mistake of trying to paint it. This car, as it sits now, has been in a million pieces for probably the last 5 months. Back earlier in the year, or I guess last year now, in the summer, with no paint experience and nothing. I was just bored. That's just the truth. I was bored. The car, if you can tell, was originally silver. I had some surface rust right here, and where it was really getting bad was up on the roof around the sunroof. The front of the roof near the front windshield was starting to surface rust. When I got the car, I had a little bit, but over the years it's progressed and progressed. So I was like, man, this thing is ugly. It's not fast, it's not special, at least let me make it look decent. So I had the idea of painting it, maybe like a dark green, or maybe just redoing the silver. So I took the car apart, took the doors off, the fenders, the trunk. The trunk's on currently, but everything, decided to sand it down. I was just going to paint it, build like a paint booth here in this shed behind me and try to paint it myself. Obviously, I lost motivation in that because I really didn't have the tools necessary. The farthest I got was on the other side. I have the majority of it. I had it sanded down to bare metal, started priming it, and then just stopped halfway through. So now it's already, the work is already run. I finally made my mind up on what I'm going to do on the car. I am going to turn this into a track car for autocross for SCCA, and possibly in the future for wheel-to-wheel. So before we go any further, what actually is the SCCA? The Sports Car Club of America is a non-profit American automobile club and sanctioning body. They support road racing, rallying, and autocross in the United States. The SCCA dates back to 1933 when brothers Miles and Sam Collier founded ARCA, the Automobile Racing Club of America. A certain World War just so happened to pop up, and unfortunately ARCA was dissolved as attention was elsewhere in America and the rest of the world. This led to the SCCA being founded by former ARCA members in 1944. Their first sanctioned road racing event was held in 1948 when they managed the inaugural Watkins Glen Grand Prix. In the years following, events at Watkins Glen, Pebble Beach, and Elkhart Lake got scooped up and formed into the National Sports Car Championship, setting the SCCA down a road of decades of professional, club, rally, formula, autocross, endurance, and many other kinds of racing tours across the country. The program we are focusing on today is their solo autocross program. Autocross is a type of racing held on large paved surfaces with a course lined out with traffic cones. One car runs at a time. This program consists of many different categories and classes of cars with one main goal: be the fastest on the board. I'm currently living in Louisiana, which gives me access to the Cenla, southwestern Louisiana, and Delta regions of the SCCA. The closest one to me is the central Louisiana region, which typically holds solo events for around 6 months out of the year. With that out of the way, let's get back to the video. If you happen to be an expert in the SCCA rules and classes, please get in touch with me and let me know. Before I lose daylight, I'm going to go ahead and show you around the car, and I need to jump the car off because the battery's probably dead, and get the thing moved into the shed behind me so that way I can stay out of this wind and show you through the car. By the way, I am recording this on a 18-year-old JVC Everio camcorder that my father-in-law graciously gifted to me, just for nostalgia's sake and because it's the most convenient camera I have. So just my excuse for using a crappy old camcorder is it gives the vintage look. I'm also recording audio from this little lav mic to my phone, so I'm actually curious to see how much of my jacket this is picking up. All right, let's get this bad boy open and see if it'll even start. It's been sitting here rotting away. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there she is. Like I said, 2007 K24A7 or A8 maybe, 2.4 liter VTEC Honda engine. You know what it is. Bone stock, literally nothing done to it. I think the only thing I've had to do to this thing is the power steering pump. The AC does not work, but I don't think I've ever had a vehicle with AC work longer than 3 months. This is about where I got the roof to. Primed. This side started with sand, but I just put it outside, so it's obviously rusting again. Same thing with the trunk. Do I have plans on finishing the paint? It's patina. It's patina. It's patina. Okay. Let's see. Key in. Turning. No power, no nothing. Okay. We're gonna need to jump the car off. Hop in the trusty Bala Impala. And I gotta say, I've got a thing for grandpa cars, man. These things are sick. Rides like a dream. The suspension is just blown out enough to make it just float across every bump in these god-awful, horrific roads we have around here. All right, we have a heartbeat. We have a heartbeat back. Give it a nice little turn. Fantastic news. And the people rejoiced. So, I mean, is the car in a million pieces? Yeah, but it runs under its own power, moves under its own power, so that's a good place to start. God, everything in this car is filthy. It's just sat out here for so long. Poor thing. Just blow the spiders out of the exhaust. Regardless if I stay in SMF, street modified front wheel drive, or if I bump up to prepared E, which is front wheel drive only. They also have a limited prep. I'm not really for sure on the rules. The SCCA rule book is about the size of 3 Bibles, so it's a lot to kind of dig through, kind of easy to get overwhelming. The car will be competing against other front wheel drive cars. Mainly hatch Civics, Fiestas, Golfs. If you look at the leaderboards for SCCA, like Prepared E and the other front wheel drive categories, everybody is smoking, winning, good positions with like 90s Civics and like hatches, which I might be wrong, but they're like 2,000-ish pounds from the factory. Meanwhile, this from the factory with the 4-cylinder is about 3,100 pounds. This is about 1,000 pounds heavier than everything I will be competing against. I also have a longer wheelbase. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll put it like right here-ish. You ask, why are you putting this much time and effort into an Accord? Why not just get a Civic? 1, because I already have the car. And 2, because I like the challenge of seeing what I can do with a heavier, longer wheelbase car, and if it's possible to compete. I'm sure if I had $1 million, I could make it do whatever I wanted to, but I don't. 2 years from now, look at this and be like, wow, I was completely wrong and what a waste of time and money. Whatever. The first step, regardless. All right, future Noah here. Ignore whatever I say for the next 5 minutes. Here's the actual plan for the build. Since we are focusing on a budget build, we are not going to swap things on the car or add things until I gain more experience as a driver and know exactly what needs to be put on the car to help improve my times. That being said, I do have a general idea of how I want the car set up. Suspension will be the main focus. Coilovers, polyurethane bushings, strut tower braces, chassis stiffening, and thicker front and rear sway bars. To work hand in hand with the suspension, a brake refresh is also in order. These brakes are on their last leg, so a good fluid flush, better pads and rotors, and some braided brake lines would be a good place to start. Wheels also need to happen too, as well as a good set of tires. I'm still undecided on what I want to put on the Accord, so I'll just have to shop around for something light and something that I can pick up for a pretty good deal. Since this car is pretty heavy, I also need to cut out as much weight as I can from this car. Rear seats, headliner, carpet, center console, interior, and trunk trim all have to go. I will also be getting rid of the door windows and all the door trim. For now, the dash will be staying in the car because some classes in the SCCA rule that it needs to be in the car. Last on the list will be the engine and transmission. To save money, I will be reusing for now the current KA28 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that's already in the car. I want a manual in the car, so I will be pulling out the automatic that's currently in it and getting rid of that. The easiest way of doing this will probably be buying a donor car, so I will have all my wiring harnesses, the transmission, master cylinder, slave cylinder, pedals, and so on. Then I can part out what's left of the car to recoup some of my costs. Before I do really anything crazy to this car, go ahead and take it on the track with the 230,000 mile blown out suspension, the horrific like Linglong tires, and just get a baseline so I have something to compare it to. My only issue is, I'll show you here in a minute, the suspension is so bad I don't even know if I would pass safety tech. Specifically the front lower control arms, the front bushing in them, they're so dry and rotted that they're not even connected anymore. So I just have metal on metal from the mounting point on the subframe to the metal of the lower control arm, just banging on each other. And like when I was driving this every day, you could just hear it smacking and smacking every time you hit a bump. So I don't even know if they would let this let this past tech to bring it on a track or an autocross course. So I got to make a decision there, because if I pull apart the suspension, I'm not going to want to put crappy beat up parts back on it. Maybe I should just do the one, like just the broken bushings just to get it on the track. I don't know yet. All right, so I guess what I'm going to do now is give you a little walk around of some of the finer points of this here car. My father-in-law has graciously let me use his shed to work on this car. So most of the time I do have to leave everything in the car, packed up and outside, because he does woodworking and stuff like that. So what comes with that is, of course, a door filled with sawdust. Which doesn't really matter. The glass and everything else will be coming out of that. There's the bushing that is completely metal on metal. Kind of hard to see, but perfect. Classic stock wheels. In here, the AC compressor down there is going to go. The washer fluid, I mean, I guess I can say there's no reason for it to really leave. The battery, I'm going to move to the trunk. Engine, like I said, I'm eventually going to pull this engine out and replace the transmission to a manual one. That kind of involves getting a manual engine harness and obviously cutting the transmission tunnel, getting a clutch pedal in, master cylinder, all that stuff, which I'll be going over that when I get to it. Poor, disgusting car. Kind of filthy in here. Headliner's pretty awful. Kind of stained and grody. But here we have the door seal trim. This is the quarter glass that I broke. I no longer have this window. Back here is my door panels. If you can see, I still have glass in the back seat. Super cool. This is the back windshield. So when I got this car, this back windshield was like this. It's kind of hard to tell. See if this is any better. If you can tell, there's a bunch of disgusting old tint that was really cheap and just has continued to flake and flake off. I've tried removing it before, and it's basically bonded at an atomic level, so almost impossible to get out. So I'm gonna have to get that out. I've tried scraping it, but I was worried about messing up the defroster wires in the windshield, but now I really don't care. So it's gonna have to come out. I can't see anything. In the trunk here, I have some miscellaneous trim, some bumper pieces, my bags of parts labeled, these two tail lights, one of which is broken. Okay, I think that's really gonna do it. I'm probably gonna start taking out the seats and stuff on a different day when I can actually see. Plus it's getting pretty cold and the weather's supposed to be bad next couple days. So I might be home from work, and that'd be a good chance for me to start pulling this stuff out and getting it online to see it and try to get it sold. So I think for now I'm gonna go ahead and get the car wrapped up for the weather, and we will go from there. With everything in the car that has been disconnected, I'm sure I have all kinds of drains on the electrical system, so it's been very rare that I've been able to just start the car back up, and no, it is completely dead. Okay. How do I want to do this? Let's see. Come on. Okay, it's not charged. That explains it. All right, whatever. Fine. Okay. Ugh. Come on. Right there. Like a professional. Righty. Tighty. Lefty loosey. However it goes. Close enough. We have clicks and a heartbeat. Let's see if she will start. Fantastic. Actually, I can't see anything because it's dark. So let's do this. Would you look at that? Car's got headlights. No check engine light. Can you believe it? Let's put it back in my designated spot to rot. All right. Home sweet home. And good night. Leave the key in here, and if anybody can manage to take this, honestly, I wouldn't be upset. I would probably give him a handshake and say thank you. All right, this camera's about to die. Rest in peace, the battery. It's doing pretty, look, I'll say this, it's doing pretty good for being 18 years old. The main purpose of this video was to kind of get myself back in the habit of making this kind of stuff, showing you guys the car, the current state it's in, my intentions with it. It's got a long way to go, but I'm excited to start working on it. Feeling amped up, feeling hyped. If you have watched to this point, thank you. If you've watched my older stuff a couple years ago, hello again, and thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this kind of stuff. It's really fun for me to make. And I will leave that there until the next one. So, bye.